Hi, my name's James Griffiths. Welcome back to the channel and another video and a vinyl finds video. Now I'm going to combine it with a video idea that I had some time ago, and I've been wanting to do that idea, but I've also been wanting to get this vinyl finds video done. And I realised there was a way of actually rolling the two ideas up into one. So I'm going to show a bunch of records and talk about them from a particular angle. And the angle I'm going to go for is just asking the question, what is the artist discography that you have struggled most to complete? So is there an artist where you're trying to collect every record, and if there is there a particular one or group of artists that you've really found it very difficult over the years to find all their records? Over time I've realised, as far as buying records is concerned, I'm becoming more and more targeted. I've pretty much stopped with the blind buys. I don't really buy much new music on vinyl because I just stream music or buy CDs. So most of the things I get on vinyl now are records by artists where I already have some records by them in the collection, and I'm trying to get more. So this is an example of a discography which I have recently completed, if you don't count live albums. So this is the best and the rest of Bebop Deluxe, which is a compilation album which collects together material from their first three albums, or the first four albums. Yeah, the first four albums, together with a load of unreleased stuff which was recorded during the recording of their fifth album, Drastic Plastic. This was one that was missing from the collection. I need to thank a particular viewer or commenter, and I don't remember who it was, and I apologise. It was a while ago. I was talking about Bebop Deluxe and that I thought I'd completed the collection, and somebody left a comment saying you need to get this best and the rest of, because there's some material on there which was not released on any of the albums. So I thank that person for alerting me, because this record, which is brilliant, has been lurking down at Hindsight Records, my local market traders, for some time, and I've just been ignoring it, thinking, well, it's the best of Bebop Deluxe. I have all their catalogue now, but in fact I didn't. And the final record is, in fact, it's not just one side, it's two sides. It's one entire record of this double album set, contains unreleased material, so that was great to get. And that does finally bring the Bebop collection to a close if you don't count the live albums. So there's one where I can say yes, finally, because I have been collecting them for quite some time. I'd say probably it goes back at least 5 years. I bought the first album. I think the first one I got was Sunburst Finish, and that was at least 5 years ago, so that's taken me some time. Now, one thing that occurred to me while I was planning this video was just wanted to quickly talk about artists where you really like the artist and you've got some records by them in the collection, but you don't really want to complete the collection. There's loads and loads of artists that I just do not want to be completist about. I mean, would you believe I don't even have a full set of Pink Floyd albums on vinyl, and they're one of my favourite bands of all time. I don't even have a full set of Beatles albums on vinyl. I still don't have Yellow Submarine on vinyl. Don't have all the McCartney albums on vinyl. So, even with artists where they're my favourite artists of all time, I'm not necessarily driven to be completist if I know that I'm not particularly bothered about that record. And there's a few other artists here that, it's the same idea really. Neil Young, huge back catalogue. I've got no interest in completing on him. Elvis Costello, another one. XTC, even though I like all their records, I'm not that fussed about having the last maybe 2 or 3 on vinyl really, because, it was after the heyday of vinyl that they came out, and I'm quite happy with having them on CD. David Bowie, don't really want to collect him or be complete on him on vinyl. I've got most of his stuff either on vinyl or CD, and the ones that I've got on vinyl are the ones that I want. So you get my drift. So there's these other artists where you sort of get it into your head that you want to be complete on them. Now this is the latest one that I've decided that I'm going to try and collect all his records, and it's going really slowly. So this is Bruce Coburn and his album Humans. His 10th album came out in 1980, and I was lucky enough to get this recently at Hindsight Records. A shop in, I think it was Hebden Bridge, had closed down, had gone into liquidation, and Robin and his dad managed to get hold of, I think, all their stock essentially. And there were a couple of records by Bruce Coburn from that shop, and I bought both of them. The first record I got from him was the one called, I'm going to say Carry Fire, but I don't think it's called that, because that's a Robert Plant album. It's got a similar name to that. I'll flash it up. And that's a later 80s one which I really like, and I'd heard a lot about this album. I'd streamed it a couple of times and thought it was really, really good, and it's meant to be his classic album. brilliant, absolutely brilliant Canadian singer-songwriter with a bit of certainly a political thing going on in his music, also a spiritual thing. I think he's probably a Christian songwriter. But this album is wonderful. It just has some wonderful lyrical songs. He writes in a style that I would describe as reportage, really. You know, some of the songs that he writes don't even rhyme. You know, they're kind of almost like diary entries, but he sets them to this wonderful musical backing. He's a fantastic guitar player. Yeah, I was just really pleased to get this one. Now, he does have quite a big discography, so I'm wondering, you know, is it ever going to be possible to collect all his records on vinyl? But I do quite like this idea of just, you know, lighting on an artist and going, right, I'm going to try and get everything by that artist, even if it takes me a lifetime. And I suspect it will take some considerable time. So I've got another one to show. I'll show that in my next video, but this is a great album from 1980, Humans by Bruce Coburn. This one, an artist where I've decided not to collect his complete discography, but I'm going to try and get all the albums that he made or that he released on Island Records, this being one of them. This is Robert Palmer and his album Secrets, which came out in, I'm not sure when it came out, no idea, but it's one of his Island ones. I picked this up from Moonlight Records, which is a little record shop in North Wales that I've spoken about a few times. If you can hear a strange noise down there, it's my dog. She's just come to rest on my record sleeves and she's just making a bit of a noise. Sorry about that. Yes, bought from Wrexham a while ago and just decided to try and get all his Island ones. You know, there's a finite number of them. It's not going to seem too onerous, I don't think, to collect all of them. I'm fairly determined not to go too far beyond that, but certainly I'd like to get all his Island ones because they are really good sounding records. There's some great stuff on this album. You've got a really nice cover of Todd Rundgren's Can We Still Be Friends, which works really well. And yeah, just got that kind of patented early Robert Palmer funky kind of sound, so really enjoyable. And there he is, the handsome brute. Lyrics on the other side. So yeah, a project for me, all of Robert Palmer's Island catalogue. Another artist that I've been collecting on vinyl for well, ever since I started making videos. The first year I started making videos, I think I bought the first record on vinyl by this artist, even though I'd got a fair few of his records on CD. And it's taken me so long to get further into the catalogue. This is John Martin. I picked this up recently from, I think it was Heightside again. Glorious Fool, which is one of his 80s albums. It was produced by Phil Collins. Eric Clapton on guitar on one track from 1981. It's a pretty good album. You know, it's not the classic John Martin from the 1970s, but it's definitely one that I wanted. Well, you know, I've decided to buy all of them, to try and find all of them. But it's taken me an awfully long time. I mean, that must be about 7 or 8 years now that I've been making videos. And in that time, I think I found maybe 3 or 4, including this one. So again, it's taken a long time, but we'll get there in the end. So yeah, nice to find this one. Let's see if I've got a custom label to show you. Nope. So yeah, Glorious Fool, John Martin, that was a nice find. And this one, this is not even a particularly great album, but I've been collecting this artist for years and years, and this is just one of the ones I didn't have. I saw it down at Heightside going cheap for a couple of quid, so just, you know, grabbed it on my way out, so to speak. Dave Edmonds' Closer to the Flame, which came out, I think, in 1990 maybe. It was quite a late one for him. Jim Keltner on drums on this, I can see. Brian Setzer from the Stray Cats on one track. It's okay, it's not a bad album. Don't think it did anything for him chart wise. This is after quite a long time after his heyday in the late 1970s, early 80s. But Dave Edmonds, I've been buying his records, it must be 20 years since I bought the first one, and he's quite a common artist. This is the thing that I want to stress in this video. You know, I'm not a collector that chases down rare albums. You know, I don't go looking for really obscure things. You know, I'm mainly trying to collect all the good, well-known records and all the significant artists from what I considered to be the great heyday of British and American pop and rock music from the 70s and 80s, and quite a lot of the records that I'm looking for are quite commonly available, but I don't know what it is. It's, you know, I just don't go to enough car boot sales, I don't think, or I just don't go out digging often enough. But still don't have Riff Raff by Dave, don't have Repeat When Necessary, which is a really common one. And yet every time I see a Dave Edmonds record, I buy it. So you tell me, why is it taking me decades to complete that discography? Answers on a postcard. Now this one, I think I might have mentioned this artist early on. In fact, I did. Neil Young. So I first started listening to Neil Young in 1991, I think it was, at uni. Bought a couple of albums on CD. It was quite a few years before I bought my first Neil Young record. I'm trying to think which one it was. It might have been Harvest. I can't remember, but it's a long time ago. We're talking probably at least 20 years ago that I started the Neil Young vinyl collection, and I find his records very, very infrequently. A couple of years ago, or maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I did a collection video on him. It was part of my unfinished collections video where I show my partial collections of, you know, artists that I'm struggling to collect. But occasionally one turns up. I found this at Heightside last weekend, and last weekend. So pleased to find this. This is Time Fades Away, which is the first of the Ditch trilogy, I think. It was the live album he made coming off the back of Harvest. I always thought this was a Crazy Horse record. My memory told me that, but it's not. It's he plays with the Stray Gators on this record, a different set of musicians, but what a great album. I mean, I'd heard about this. It's a live album, featured all new songs, but songs that he hadn't recorded yet. So there was a bit of a strange thing going on there. New material, but done as a live album. And it's got a great ragged sound. I've heard a couple of people over the years saying this album would have been better if it had been a studio record and tidied up a bit, which to me just seems like a grand exercise in missing the point, really. This is definitely one of Neil's career watermarks, high watermarks, and it's a record that was not available for many years. I don't think Neil was very fond of it. It was like On the Beach, that one too. You could not get hold of a copy of it. Even on CD, I think this album was withdrawn on CD and you couldn't get it. I first learned about it, would have been back in the 90s when I was reading music magazines, and I thought, right, you know, I need to get that record. But there was a reissue of it a few years ago, but I didn't bother getting it. I kind of, you know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking I'd like to find an original copy of it. So finally, after God knows how many years, we've got Time Fades Away in the collection. So Neil Young, not an artist I'm ever going to be complete on. He's just made, I think, is it 43 albums or something like that, and yeah, I just don't want to get onto that particular slippery slope. And this last one, again, another artist that I've been collecting for donkey's years. I show their records occasionally. I think over the last maybe 7 years, I might have shown 2 or 3 records by this band, and this is just another one. Thin Lizzy in Chinatown. Picked this up from Moonlight Records in Wrexham a few weeks back now, and this is their 10th album. Came out in 1980. Great artwork. Love that artwork. It was the first record that they made with Snowy White, and had a bit of a, I don't know, it's slightly strange sound to this record. It's it's quite un-Thin Lizzy-ish in a way. It's hard to describe it. It's quite sleek sounding. It's got a bit of a classic rock sheen to it. It doesn't seem quite so earthy as some of the other ones. And there's also, I don't think there's any sort of big major hits on it really, but there's some great stuff on it. I mean, the title track Chinatown is brilliant. Killer on the Loose at the end of side 1, absolutely fantastic. Genocide, The Killing of the Buffalo on side 2 is a bit of a Phil Lynott epic. But Thin Lizzy, been collecting them for decades, literally decades, and their records are fairly scarce, really. The last one I bought was the one after this one, I think. Name escapes me. But I think they have 13 studio albums, and I think I've now got 10 of them, and one of those is a reissue. I've got The Vagabond of the Western World. Just long gave up trying to find an original of that and just bought the reissue. So Thin Lizzy, I will get there one day, but 3 more to get. Don't hold up much hope of getting the first couple of albums on vinyl because they are very, very scarce. They didn't sell very well, but yeah, I don't have Thunder and Lightning yet, which I think was their last album, but Great to get that one anyway, Chinatown by Thin Lizzy, and the collection progresses, albeit very slowly. So yes, there is one more actually that I didn't pull because I've already shown, the last record I got by them, I've already shown it, but the Stranglers as well have been eluding me for years and years. I think I've got about 4 or 5 or 6 of their records now, but they turn up very infrequently at good prices. I mean, often it's the pricing which stops me completing as well when you get a certain artist like the Stranglers. You know, a few of their records around for silly money really, but anyway, ramble over. So yes, let me know, are there any artists that you've been collecting for donkey's years, trying to complete, and have still not managed to do so? It'd be great to hear about that. So thanks for watching, I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll see you in the next video.